Hello everyone and welcome back to Penn State Sports Night. I'm Brooke Steach, joined alongside by Tim Rogers and Chris Lemmo, and tonight we're bringing you our recap of the NHL Outdoor Games at Lake Tahoe. The first game of the series was between the Vegas Golden Knights and the Colorado Avalanche. Play was suspended after the first period due to poor ice conditions caused by the sunlight. The game was finished up late Saturday night with Colorado taking a 3-2 win. Chris, what differences did you notice in each team's play following the delay?
Well, I have to say, Vegas did not bring their A game. I'm not sure what happened there. I don't know if they spent too much time partying at the casinos around nearby, but they completely just did not have a good first period at all. Got outshot 17-8. And, they didn't play that great after the break, but at least they didn't get, they should have been blown out. The first period, Marc-Andre Fleury held them in that game. And, they had about 4 minutes straight of power play time, including a minute and a half of 5-on-3 late in the first period, and he came up with 7 big saves there. So he was the sole reason that even after the continuation that this game was still close. Vegas really just, they did not look organized at all. And, before in the first period, I kind of thought, okay, that's because of the ice. And we saw a lot of bouncing pucks in the first period. We saw guys falling all over the ice. In fact, some of the players were saying that it felt like because of the cracks in the ice, they could get down to the concrete. So, it was a mess out there. But Vegas didn't look much better in the second. So, they did come back in the third here and make it a 1-goal game. So it looked a little bit closer on paper. But I think, Vegas was helped just a little bit by the break. Get some of that rest up and then, come back with a better game plan than what they had.
Yeah, I kind of thought the same thing. It kind of felt like a whole different game after the first. Obviously, again, Colorado, they got to be one of the favorites to win the Stanley Cup at this point. Nathan MacKinnon playing at an unreal level. If he's not in the MVP conversation, then I don't know. Devon Toews, a great signing coming from the New York Islanders, looked great on the power play there. As you said, they had the 5-on-3. I really did think that, for the players waiting almost 8 hours to go back on the ice, I was surprised that it didn't have that big of an impact on Colorado. Like you said, I really thought Vegas was going to get back in that game. They were so unorganized and just Marc-Andre Fleury, great performance. But Colorado really didn't seem to get affected. So I was pretty surprised by that. And like you said, the ice was very bouncy and chippy in the first. For them to come back and fix that up and, having a late midnight game, it was very nice to see, though, it be a little bit more competitive.
I'm sure it was difficult for these athletes to stay locked in and focused despite delaying the game for 8 hours after the first period. Even with some rigid ice conditions in the first game, the Philadelphia Flyers and Boston Bruins played in the second game on Sunday night, where the sunlight didn't play a factor in the ice conditions this time, but both teams had to play through the sunset at Lake Tahoe, where light was still shining through the trees, which made it hard to see on the ice. Boston ended up taking the win 7-3 over the Flyers. But Tim, do you think these teams and players have to prepare differently and adjust their strategies when playing outdoors?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I think it's a whole different mindset that you have to go in. A lot of people haven't played on those outdoor rinks since they were kids. That's where they grew up loving the sport, but they haven't done that for a long time. They got these amazing $1 million facilities that they go to all the time. But I really think the ice is a big issue. We did see that in the first game the sun was. But the sun affected the ice. It's very hard to judge how pucks bounce. You see a lot of times in the warm-ups, they throw the pucks around on the board, see how they move. For this, they really didn't have the opportunity to do that. So you saw guys falling around all the time, and you saw in the Philly game a wide-open bounce that just happened from the end board. Nobody expected it. Tuukka Rask wasn't, and it was a goal for Philly right then and there. So I think it is a really mindset thing that you have to go in with, knowing that you're playing in an outdoor game and you're not, at your home facility or at an actual facility.
For sure. And, I think a lot of it is the glare. And these guys, I know the Flyers and Bruins didn't really have time to practice on the outdoor rink. And, when you're used to having perfect lighting and everything just be 100% there for you, it's a lot easier to play the game. And, for these guys, for goalie especially, I kind of liken it to, being in the batter's box during a day game, because you get the shadow effect where, if you're a hitter, you got it going through the sun and then the shade back to the sun. Same thing if you're a goalie. These guys, they had the tall pine trees kind of blocking it there. So it's tough to get a read when you're going light to sun and back and forth. And it's almost better for these guys if you had overcast or cloudy conditions, because it's really hard to see out there. So that's why I think Earlier in these games, we saw more of a just get pucks on net kind of mindset, a lot of point shots, a lot of deflections. Whereas later in the game, we saw a little bit more of the skill play breakout. For Vegas, even in the third period, Alex Tuck with top cheddar there on the goaltender, and absolutely beautiful spin move there in front of the net. But, you can break some of those moves out of the bag when you have good conditions, but when it's sunny, just throw things at the net because, again, you never know what the goalie is seeing and what he's not.
You don't have to worry about Mother Nature all that much when playing indoors, but there's still, of course, a lot more factors that are in play for the outdoor games, like figuring out the location, seating for fans, and so forth. But going forward, what are your thoughts on more outdoor games, and where are some places you think they should go next?
Well, I think it kind of depends on if the NHL wants to stay with this sort of, natural setting. If they're going to stay in a natural setting, I think the Grand Canyon would be an awesome way to do that. Obviously, they'd have to do that at night, as this showed the Sun is undefeated versus the NHL. But I think that there's a way that they can pull that off. I mean, they've pulled it off out in LA Outdoor Games, so I don't see why they can't do it in the Grand Canyon during the winter. Lake Louise up in Canada is another one. A lot of guys, would love to go home back to Canada, play an outdoor game. And then if you're looking in the city, I've heard the National Mall in D.C. or Central Park, a great Islanders Rangers series would be great there. But for me, and I've long said this, and Tim Rogers, let me know how you feel about this, but I'll set the stage. It's Beaver Stadium, Friday night. You got a massive crowd, orange and black versus the yellow and black, okay? Flyers, Penguins, State College is right in the middle of the state. You cannot tell me this would be the perfect setting if they can pull it off. Now, it might be my PSU bias, but Penn State, Beaver Stadium is a great atmosphere, okay? And they could even pull it off so that Friday night you get, Flyers, Penguins, which I feel like would be the obvious matchup. And then Saturday night, why don't we have the whiteout that Penn State hockey plays, bring it outside against Ohio State. I think that would be an awesome setting. The NHL, in normal years, they typically love to have, minor league or college games also play on the same ice. So I think, and college stadiums have pulled it off before. They pulled it off in the Big House, Minnesota, Navy, Air Force. So I don't see why not, and I think that's a classic rivalry for sure.
Yeah, I'm picturing it right now in my head. The orange, the yellow, it looks amazing up in the stands right there. But I really like the idea of outdoor games. Honestly, though, I think it's really up to the players. Because if they're not full for it, then they really shouldn't have to be going through these conditions. On normal circumstances, it's an 82-game season. They don't want that one game where they miss the playoffs to be at an outdoor game that they just didn't want to be in. But if they're going to do one, I would love MetLife Stadium for that Islanders-Rangers rivalry. They'll probably want the Devils there, but nobody likes the Devils, so we don't got to put them there. But I really like the city ideas, and I think the Vegas Strip would be pretty interesting. See how you can fit that in, get Vegas in another one, maybe on their home turf, if you will, and maybe they'll show up to this one. Who knows? But I like the Beaver Stadium idea. Again, I could picture it in my head. That would look pretty nice.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the Vegas Strip, obviously, that would be a really tough one to pull off, but that would look beautiful there with the big fountains in the background with the casinos. Could definitely picture that one for sure.
We'll have to wait and see what tricks the NHL has up their sleeve next. That wraps up our recap of the 2021 NHL Outdoor Games at Lake Tahoe. For Tim Rogers and Chris Lemmo, I'm Brooke Steach. Thanks for watching and have a great night.
Thank you for watching this edition of Penn State Sports Night. If you're a fan of our content, please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more clips. Also, follow us on Twitter at PSSN TV and on Instagram at PSU Sports Night to keep up with all the action. For all my colleagues, we are Penn State Sports Night.